Okay, so yeah, we're speaking about really the verse that appears at the very, very beginning of the Tanya, the verse on which the author of the Tanya, Rav Shneur Zalman of Liadi, says that his whole work here is founded on. And that's the verse from Deuteronomy that says, Ki karov elecha davar meod, beficha uvilvavcha la'asoto, that it is very close to you, and that it is in the power of your mouth and in your heart to actually perform it, to do it. And of course, we're speaking about here divinity. We don't have to go and search, as the verses in Deuteronomy say, beyond the seas or in the heavens. But really, when we are searching for God, we have to look inwards. We don't have to go out, as we said, we have to go in. And there you'll find it, and you'll be able then to translate the power of your heart and your power of your mouth into action. Now, as far as the Tanya is concerned, this is also the most, I would say, foundational idea for the Beinoni. Because the Beinoni, if you recall, is not the righteous, is not the wicked, but the Beinoni is the one. I'm so sorry. Still don't know how to get rid of this. But the Beinoni, my kids connected my phone to my computer, so I have to ask them to disconnect it now. So every time it rings, you'll hear it. I'm sorry. But the Beinoni is the one who really has a very strong animal soul, and it's very much alive within him, but he's always in full control. And the reason why he's able to be in full control is because he's the excavator, so to speak. He's the archaeologist. He's the one who knows how to undig the godly soul to overpower the animal soul. And that really is the only way to win that battle time and time again. You don't find it from without, you find it from within. And now the Tanya, chapter 18 here, is focusing really on how do we excavate the godly soul so that it can overpower the animal soul. How do we really find it? Because there are times, as the Tanya himself says, in which we are not in the mood. Sometimes, we're not at that ultimate spiritual level. So still, the question now is really how. We know it's very near. We know it's in us. But still, how do we launch ourselves as archaeologists, so to speak, each and every time? And that's the overarching here idea. Let's continue. Page, you said 97. The author touches here, right? Top paragraph. Okay. Does anyone want to read? Anyone? The author.
Oh, good. Amy.
Do it. I'll do it.
Please, go for it.
Okay.
Thank you, Amy. Go for it.
All right. The author touches here on a topic that borders on the dangerous, a point so fundamental and dynamic, and yet never exhausted. It is a well so deep, so powerful that one can draw on it forever. But because it is so powerful, it may never again allow for day-to-day existence. After exhausting all the external sources, we try another source, entering into the basic, the fundamental source, into the nucleus of the very existence of matter. We draw power from the atom, but as with the explosion of nuclear energy, which is the inherent basis of matter, the explosion of the potential that is found equals the very foundation of the soul. As will be described, this spiritual nuclear bomb comes into play at the moment of martyrdom, the sanctification of God's name. At the moment of full realization of its potential, life itself is swept away by its overwhelming power. What the author tells us, though, is that one may tap this potential for daily life. The conundrum: how does one make use of something so unequivocal, so ultimately yes or no? Without it, one risks emotional vacuity. With it, one leaps beyond all boundaries. How does one receive from a hidden source that, when revealed, can be devastating? How is one to harness a portion and live with it?
Right, and that
Let's
I
make
think
something. It's wet over there.
I think that's the ultimate question, because if we are really speaking about archaeologically, right, going inwards and finding that soul so that it unleashes its power to overcome the animal soul and to lead us towards our purposeful lives, then we are really dealing with something that's quite dangerous, because the divine soul at the end of the day has no limits. Divine soul is all powerful. It's divine. And when if we are to reach it and to excavate it and unleash its powers, like we said, then it could lead us to something that is beyond limits. It could lead us to something that maybe even beyond the boundaries of crazy. It reminds me of the story of the Talmud, the famous story of the four people, the four sages who entered the secrets of the Torah, or what they were called Pardes, entered the garden of the Torah. Pardes, some say, stand for the four layers of Torah understanding. Pei stands for Pshat, which means simple, the simple meaning of the words. Resh, the next letter, stands for Remez, which means the hints of the Torah. Then you have Dalet, which stands for Drash, the interpretation of the Torah. And then the last letter of Pardes is Samech, which stands for secret, Sod. So they entered the deepest layers of the Torah. And one of them, Ben Azai, entered those secrets. It's almost like entering a soul. And he expired. His soul was so moved that it wanted to leave this world. I mean, once you discover the heavenly secrets, you don't want to come back. So he died. Another one became crazy, Ben Zoma. He hit those highest layers, which is the layers that exist within again. And he became crazy. It's just like it's an act that takes you out of your balance completely, out of Earth, completely, planet Earth, that it can make you crazy. Another one became a heretic, Elisha ben Abuya. Only one, Rabbi Akiva, is the one that went in peace and came back in peace. But if you think about this, this is an exercise that we ought to do every day. We should go not just in the secrets of the Torah, but in the secrets of the soul. That's our task, to, again, excavate the soul. But if we do that, and this is what Rabbi Steinsaltz is asking here, then it could be very dangerous. Baal Shem Tov himself would say that after each and every prayer, if we are praying correctly, just think about this. If we are praying correctly, then we should be saying the blessing of Hagomel, which is the blessing of gratitude to Hashem after we survive an accident, after a miracle happens to us, after we travel overseas, after we face danger. Why? Because prayer should connect us to God, not just God there, but God here, that it becomes dangerous. Because God is all encompassing, it's all breaking, it's all invasive. So it can make you crazy, like Ben Zoma. It can chas v'shalom expire your soul, like Ben Azai. So how do we deal with it? If we really are doing this seriously, not, of course, speaking here just on a surface level, but if we're dealing with this seriously, it's dangerous. Fine. So God is very close to us. We believe what the Torah is saying. Ki karov elecha davar meod. And at the same time, la'asoto. We have to excavate and unleash that power to perform it. But when we do that, it's like dealing with the atoms here. It's an atomic bomb. So how do we deal with it? That's the big question. A very serious one, but it also relates to how real this is. It's not just superficial. So let's hear the answer here. Among the unusual qualities. Does anyone, Amy, you want to continue to read, or anyone
Oh,
else?
sure. Okay, I lost my place there for a second. Okay, among the unusual qualities of the Tanya and of Chabad Hasidic philosophy in general are the frequent transitions between intellectuality and cerebral efforts, an appreciation of intellectual love and awe on one hand, and on the other, a heavy reliance on qualities beyond the threshold of consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
Compare this with the other schools of Hasidism. Kotz, for example, with its emphasis on sharpening emotional aptitude, raising it to ever higher levels with the intention that man live in a constant state of outburst. Such a path is within the realm of possibility. There are people capable of doing this, but they number an elite few. Then there was another down to earth Hasidic school that demanded no revealed love and awe whatsoever. Because every Jew certainly possessed a holy neshama, one could rely on it without having to reveal its attributes.
Mm-hmm.
The Tanya method, though, attempts to follow both approaches to rely on the neshama, albeit concealed, and to draw strength from it, constructing a conscious world of love and awe through the intellect.
Right. And that's really the map of the Tanya here. And in Kabbalah, there's a concept that really speaks this idea. And that's the concept, if you've ever heard of it, the concept of Ratzov Vashov, which means to run towards and to return. To run towards and return, run and return, run and return. And in many ways, this is really speaking of the task of every human being when they unearth their neshama, their soul. And that is, on the one hand, you want to run towards the heavens. That's what the soul is. The soul in the book of Proverbs is compared to a candle that constantly flickers. Ner Hashem Nishmat Adam, it constantly flickers and aspires to reattach itself to its source. The soul wants to go heavenwards. The soul wants to connect with God and break all barriers of this world. So on the one hand, you have to follow that pathway. You have to connect, but you can't stay there. That was the problem with Ben Azai and Ben Zoma that we spoke about. Ben Azai, by the way, that was his personality. Ben Azai never married. And when they asked him, Ben Azai, why aren't you marrying? Isn't there a commandment to marry and to be fruitful and multiply? He says, yes, I know, but what can I do? My soul desires to study Torah all day long. He was always on a heaven path, but you can't stay there. You have to be on the heaven path. That's the Ratzah, running towards, but you have to be Vashov. You have to get married. You have to come back. You have to pay bills. You have to bring that heaven down to earth. In many ways, I think that's the greatest challenge, because to fly to the heavens, that's easy. That's really easy. I mean, to become monks, for example, and live in isolation on top of some Tibetan mountain all life long, it's pretty easy. You're disconnected. You have no worries, no problems. No. Okay. To be completely immersed in this world, overcome by its challenges, completely drowned in materialism, that's pretty easy too. It's not a fun thing, but it's pretty easy too. But it's the people who can figure out how to ascend and descend, ascend and descend, ascend and descend all the time are the people who achieve the level of the Beinoni. In many ways, that's the goal, and that's what Rabbi Shneur Zalman of Liadi is trying to teach here. Ratzov Vashov. Many ways, we see that in this week's portion, because it's no coincidence that we are studying this when Jews around the world will be reading Bo. Bo, by the way, I don't know, Elisabetta, you hear, right? No?
No,
In Italian, to say, I don't know, some people use the slang. Does anyone speak Italian here? Some people use the slang bo, bo. So the joke in Italy is, what's this week's parsha? Bo, bo. But anyway, bo is this week's parsha. Bo means come to Pharaoh. God is telling Moses, come to Pharaoh. And the big question that almost every commentary is asking is, it should have said, go to Pharaoh. What does it mean, come to Pharaoh? And God is telling Moses, I know it could be very worrisome. It could be overcoming you with fear to go to Pharaoh, the dictator. Imagine you have to go and speak to Adolf Hitler. You have to go and speak to Khomeini. It's intimidating, to say the least. So God is saying, no, you're not going to him. You're not going to Pharaoh. You're coming. I'm there already. Just come. I'm here. Come to me. I'm here with Pharaoh. I'll be here with you. In many ways, that's the secret of Ratzov Vashov. That yes, we ascend to the heavens, but when we descend, we have to understand we're not descending by ourselves. God is with us, even in the Pharaohs of life. And he says to us, come, I'll be there with you in the descent. And maybe I'll even be there with you in the descent more than I am there in the ascent. Because at the end of the day, I'm the one who created this world for me to dwell in this world. I'm more interested in this world than in the upper worlds. So just come. I'll give you the strength. I'll empower you. I know it's going to be hard. But come Shov. Don't be Ben Azai. Don't be Ben Zoma. Don't become crazy or be Rabbi Akiva. Go and come back in peace. And the reason you can do it in peace is because I'm here. I've never left you. And that's really the essence of the Beinoni, that he knows how to go up, but he knows how to go down. And when he goes down, it's not that he's leaving God. Quite the opposite. He's bringing God with him. God is bringing him with him too. That's really the big idea. I shouldn't be the only one monologuing, so feel free to speak your minds if you wish, or to disagree also. But I'll speak again of, these are not concepts that are just abstract and exist somewhere up there, but these are concepts that we have had the fortune, really just a tremendous blessing of seeing them come alive in our generation. Every single one of these hostages that came out have showed us exactly what this means, that they may have gone to the depths of earth, although their souls wanted to ascend to the highest of highs. They were forced to be in those tunnels, not just the physical tunnels that they were in, but the emotional, spiritual tunnels that they were in. And there they discovered God. There they saw that Baal Paro is a real thing, that God was there. And they were able to bring heaven down to earth more than, like very few people did in Jewish history. So it's a very real concept. It's not just abstract. It's very powerful. Okay, if not, let's continue. If there's no comment, we can continue. Love hearing your thoughts too. Okay, let's continue. The top of page 98 here, the two methods. Does anyone want to continue to read?
I'll be happy to.
Please, Amy, go for it.
The two methods are interrelated. Most of the avenues of serving God with the intellectually oriented love and awe that this book explains require an additional and deeper foundation that enables one to have such thoughts so that they will have an effect on the individual. Without this basis, even someone quite capable will never reach such thought. At the same time, someone who possesses this capacity for thought and has a supportive environment, even though he may be limited intellectually, can reach the highest levels of thought, a synergy of thought and soul.
Mm-hmm.
And though the range of his mind is circumcised, if he nevertheless circumscribed,
Yeah.
he nevertheless works hard to develop his concepts to their fullest. His self-transformation can dwarf the accomplishments of the wisest of men with their profound knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
There are people with quite modest gifts and a minimal understanding of the rudiments of Hasidism. But whatever they manage to grasp, they live. On the strength of that enthusiastic inspiration, they can attain great sanctity and a purity of deed of the highest order. Sanctity is not necessarily bound by cerebral ability. The greatest intellect may be housed in the least holy of garments, and vice versa. What counts is not the level of thought, but the ability to actualize it.
Mm-hmm.
And the power to do this, to enter the world of thought, however lofty, and make proper use of it, flows from that single unfathomable point, the love hidden within every Jew's heart, the inheritance from our forefathers.
Right. I think that's very powerful. And Rabbi Steinsaltz here puts it in a nice way. I can tell you that Rabbi Steinsaltz put it in not such a nice way when he once told me that he's met many, many people with 4, 5, 6, 7 PhDs, and yet he believes they are still the dumbest people because having a high intellectual capacity doesn't mean that you can indeed connect to the heavens, and then even more than that, bring the heavens down to earth, translate that heavenly sphere into something very, very materialistic. It doesn't depend on the capacity of your thought. It really depends on the capacity of your soul, and the soul knowing that it needs to return, not just to fly up to the heavens. That's why I think that Judaism is very unique in that way, that we can learn. The Talmud says, "Kol haomer ein li ela Torah, afilu Torah ein lo." Talmud says something very powerful, that someone who says, all I have is Torah learning, then even Torah he doesn't have. He doesn't have Torah. Because if you really have Torah, it can't just stay in the realm of thought. You can have 7 PhDs, but it doesn't mean anything. If you really have Torah, it's got to translate into action. It's got to change you. You have to bring it down, and that's how it changes you. If you only have Torah, then Torah you don't have, because that's not Torah. There's a fascinating discussion in the Talmud about, and there's a Hasidic interpretation that's just so powerful, about if there are 9 people for minyan, you need 10. If you are 9 people, and they happen to be in a synagogue, can you join the ark to the 9, and then the ark is considered like an additional human being? And Amalei Rab Nachman, this is in the Tractate of Brachot, Rabbi Nachman says, V'chiaron gavrahu. Can you really consider an ark a human being? How can you even think about that? Now, what Rabbi Nachman is saying in the more Kabbalistic way is that you think that a person that has tons of Torah in him, tons of Torah books, but he's just an ark, he's not alive, he's not bringing to action. You think that person can be considered a human being? He's just an ark. You can't add him to the minyan. You can have 20 Torahs. You can have an ark full of 40 Torahs. It doesn't matter. If you have a human being that's full of 40 Torahs, but he's just an ark, he's dead really. He's not bringing it alive through practice. Then he can't be joined for minyan. Same idea here. The descent from the heavens has to go through practice. It can't go through PhDs. And that's what's unique again about Judaism. I think that Judaism asks us not just to learn about Judaism, but to practice Judaism. I think that's the common denominator. I was saying this to someone else the other day, to a football player, but that's the common denominator between sports and Judaism. We can learn science, we can learn math, and fine, we've achieved learning math if we've learned math. But you can't just learn sports. If you learn sports and don't practice it, there's no game, then there's no sports. Same with Judaism. If you learn Judaism but you don't practice it, there's no game, there's no Judaism. That's really what this means. And that's how you find that tremendous balance between going up and going down, or that harmony between the two, the Ratzah and the Shov. And that's the only way, as Rabbi Akiva did, that you can go in peace and come back in peace.